Today we're tearing apart my landcruiser's transfer case to install crawler gears, and it's going to be a learning process. This is the first time I've dug into one of these transfer cases, and while I have rebuilt transmissions in the past, I've not touched one of these specifically. My thought here is to just remove the whole case since I already have the transmission out of the truck. I wasn't sure how heavy it was, so I started removing weight by somewhat disassembling it. That's why I'm removing the rear extension housing here and breaking things in the process. The best way to learn how to do this kind of thing is just to do it. As long as you have some patience, the right tools, Google, and preferably a service manual, you can basically rebuild anything. Alright guys, as previously mentioned, today we're going to be installing low range gears in my FJ80 transfer case because apparently I have a knack for annoying, intricate projects. All jokes aside, I just need the landcruiser to have a lower gear ratio, and we're going to achieve that with a mixture of the low range transfer case gears and eventually third member gears as well. You don't have to remove the entire transfer case like I did to install these gears. Actually, you only have to pop off the rear cover and you can swap out everything right there. But if you've been watching the series, you know that I have the motor and the transmission out of the truck, so it was easier to just split it apart and toss it on the workbench. This is going to be a learning process because it is my first time tearing apart one of these transfer cases, so bear with me. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's hop into it and tear this thing apart. These aftermarket gears have 3 more teeth on the idler gear and 18 more teeth on the low speed gear. What this means essentially is it's going to net a decent gear reduction over stock, 25% to be exact, or 311 to 1, which is much better than the stock 2.48 to 1, but still nowhere near a Toyota with dual cases. I believe this will put my crawl ratio at around 37 to 1 compared to the stock ratio of 30 to 1, which I could get lower in the future by swapping out the ring and pinion in the axles. Then we have to factor in the torque converter, which is magic to me, but apparently it's a 1.8x multiplier, which is just what I read online, and could be false, but that would put us at 67 to 1 now compared to 54 to 1 stock. For comparison, a dual case setup in a pickup or 4Runner nets you 223 to 1 in the most common configuration. I will admit that I'm a manual transmission guy and I've never wheeled an automatic rig, but the way that I do wheel is slower and a bit less of the skinny pedal. Personally, I like the control of lower gears, and these will definitely help achieve that. I opted not to go with a center spool, which would convert the truck to part-time 4-wheel drive, so all I really need to do is tear these cases apart, press off the old gears, and then press on the new gears. So here's what the gears look like taken out of the transfer case. As you guys could see, they come out as one full unit, and it actually looks a lot like a transmission in here. We have the actual shift fork, the clutch hubs right here that are going to shift this in between low range and I'm assuming this is high range over here. We have the idler gear that we're replacing and the low range gear that we are replacing. So you can see the new ones have more teeth. You can see that right there. This has more teeth than the existing one, and the larger gear will have more teeth as well. So pretty cool how this comes apart. It just slides out of the entire case, as you guys saw, and you just have this shell. So essentially all you have to do this in the truck is just take off this rear cover and everything will slide right out of there. So we have the extension housing right there. And yeah, that's how you get to those gears. So really easy uninstall. And now we have to take these over to the press and start pressing off these gears. And hopefully they fit in my press. I'm not sure if they will. I got the idler gear pressed off, and as you guys can see, these are all the parts. We have a bearing, the old idler gear, needle bearings, the clutch hub, and the rest of the gear assembly here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this new idler gear and we're going to press it on and put everything back together, and then we'll be done with the idler gear side, and then can move on to the low range gear over here. Every time I do something with gears, whether it be a ring and pinion or a transmission, I feel like I'm going to mess something up. It doesn't matter how many times I do it, I convince myself that I installed something backward, forgot to reinstall some tiny little shim or detent ball, or that I'm going to shatter something in the press. On the other hand, this paranoia forces me to be extremely meticulous, and luckily, fingers crossed, none of these things have happened to me yet. I noticed here that since the new gear is smaller in diameter, even though having more teeth, it allows the shift hub to slip off the gear. As you can see, the old gear prevents the hub from ever leaving its set range of motion. The shift forks should keep this in place, but it's just something I noticed while I was putting it back together, and it shouldn't be a problem. All right, I got the entire low-speed gear side disassembled. I think it goes without saying this was a bear to remove. This whole area right here was kind of rusted to the shaft, or at least it seemed like it was seized, so had to heat that up, spray some penetrating oil in there, and then press it off. Of course, I know it would be easier if I had a larger press. This was a pretty small press right here, but hey, I don't. And I also don't have a larger bearing puller, so we work with what we have around here. So now I have to install the larger low range gear, and that's currently in the ultrasonic, just getting all of this manufacturing stuff off that prevents it from rusting, and then just press everything back on in reverse order. I'm always so torn on how to best make these videos for you guys when the subject matter is super complicated and at the same time it's the first time that I'm going through it. So it's hard to record because I'm super focused on what I'm trying to do, and then I'm trying to make the video, and believe it or not, it's actually really challenging to do. And I feel like maybe I'm not explaining enough or explaining too much and just not on the camera enough. And I'm curious if this format is working for you guys. So obviously your input as a viewer is extremely important to me. That's why I make the videos in the first place. So what I want from you, the viewer, is to just go ahead and let me know in the comments below if this format is working for you. And this is how I've been doing it for the past couple of videos if you watch the previous ones in this series. Or if you want anything changed, just let me know and we'll adjust as needed. But anyway, back on topic. The gears are installed, everything is pressed on, we have everything torqued down, and now we just have to reinstall them back into the transfer case. The catch is that it's not just going to go back in. As you saw, the gears are much bigger than the old ones, so what we have to do now is we have to clearance the case out so that the gears will fit in there. And we have to remove the edge of an oil slinger and then a little bit of the inside of the case in order to get those back in. The very last thing I need to do is seal up these cases. I wanted to use Toyota FIPG here, but this Ultra Gray is going to do just fine. Marlin Crawler uses it in all of their transfer case rebuilds, so I'm sure it's not going to be a problem if they're using the same stuff. Permatex also has a gear oil specialty RTV that I used on my pickup's third members, and those never leaked once during the whole life of the truck when I owned it. I'm about to do something very stupid. I thought it was weird that these shims were just sitting on the surface since it'd be hard to keep them in place, and when I was installing this retaining plate, I felt like something was wrong, and I started tightening the plate, and this is what happened. I took it all back apart, and the pop was the plate forcing the steel shims to align with the aluminum case. Luckily, I had them close enough where it basically did no damage besides a tiny sliver of aluminum, and then once it was all aligned correctly, everything torqued just fine. On this one, I pushed the shim in, as you can see there. If you were paying attention, you noticed when I was installing this rear extension housing that I used no RTV. And the reason is because the seals on both of the output flanges for the rear extension housing and the front extension housing are bad. And unfortunately, this is not like a Toyota pickup. You can't just remove a bolt or a nut right here, pop the flange off and replace the seal. This doesn't slide on the shaft. This is the shaft. So the whole thing presses out with the bearing. Then you had to replace the bearing since you're already in there and then swap out the seal. So the only reason I even installed these extension housings on was because the front housing helps align the gears in the case, and the rear housing allows me to torque the bolts down right here on the side for this rear case to make sure that we get a good seal. But as far as the transfer case goes, the crawler gears are installed. Everything fits perfectly. As you can see, we have no clearance issues. We would definitely notice right now. So that's done. I just have to get those seals installed, which I'll just do on my own time. Let's take a look at the engine, since you guys are probably curious about that. This has made some progress since the last time you guys saw it. I got all the freeze plugs installed, or core plugs, whatever you want to call them. I got a new oil pump bushing on the front and got the oil cooler rebuilt and reinstalled, as well as the motor mounts. Now, I've been waiting on my cylinder head for a long time, and I just got a call from the machine shop and it's finally done. So the next video will probably be finishing up the motor. Anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up today's video. Thank you for following along during the crawler gear install. If you like these videos, if you wanna see more stuff in the landcruiser, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later. At the top.